Local breaking news. This is News Channel 3 covering West Michigan live at 5.
We're following breaking news from overnight. 6 Utah officers shot while serving a search warrant. We'll have all the details.
In Kalamazoo, a serious crash closes Kilgore Road at I-94 for hours overnight. We were there as rescue crews worked to free a penned-in driver.
Plus, he pleaded guilty to kidnapping a former family member. Now he's going to be sentenced for the crime. We're live with how long Reagan Reynolds could be spending behind bars. Today is Thursday, January 5th. Good morning. I'm Marcy Koberger.
And I'm Josh Rowe. Thanks for waking up with us on this Thursday. Overnight, 6 police officers shot in Utah. Details of what happened are very limited at this point. We do know that the officers were serving a drug-related search warrant when the shootout started. All of the officers were taken to the hospital along with one suspect. Their conditions are not being released, but there are reports that at least 2 officers may have suffered serious head injuries.
We heard three pops. Didn't know what they were at first. 2 or 3 minutes later, we heard multiple gunshots going off. Sounded like AK-47s.
We will continue to follow this story and bring you the very latest throughout the morning.
Also breaking overnight, a serious crash lands a Portage woman in the hospital. It happened just before 11 last night on the Kilgore Road Bridge at I-94. Police say the woman was driving across the bridge very fast when for some reason she crossed the center line. That's when she collided with the truck. The Jaws of Life had to be called in to get that woman out of her car. She was taken to the hospital with several broken bones but is expected to be okay. The other driver had only minor injuries. A Grand Rapids man who pleaded guilty to kidnapping his former mother-in-law will learn his sentence today. Jessica Harthorn joins us now live outside the Kent County Courthouse with more on just how much time Reagan Reynolds is facing behind bars. Jessica.
Marcy, prosecutors say that Reagan Reynolds wanted to get revenge on his ex-wife over a custody battle, but that revenge could get him life in prison. Now, Reynolds entered a guilty plea to kidnapping and home invasion here in Grand Rapids last month. Prosecutors say he's the mastermind behind a plot to kidnap his former mother-in-law. The woman was tied up with duct tape and left in a cornfield in Granville, but was able to escape and then get help. 2 other men in the case have already pled guilty to conspiracy to commit home invasion. They are Brian Blakely and Quentin Gorey. Now, according to court records, all 3 men met up in their victim's quiet Granville neighborhood. Reynolds stayed behind while Blakely and Gorey broke into the house, bound the woman with duct tape, and then threatened her and her husband with knives. And we will learn Reynolds' fate in just a few hours here at the Kent County Courthouse. Reporting live from Grand Rapids, Jessica Harthorn, News Channel 3.
Jessica, thank you. In Battle Creek, Kelvin Hawkins' trial continues today. He's accused of forcing a woman to perform sex acts at gunpoint. Hawkins is charged with 7 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Prosecutors say he picked up a woman in Detroit, drove her to his apartment in Battle Creek, and raped her, then dropped her off at a truck stop nearby. Police also found hundreds of pictures of other women in Hawkins' apartment, so they believe there may be more victims. Wednesday, one of the other alleged victims took the stand. She says Hawkins also assaulted her at gunpoint. Prosecutors are trying to prove he has a history of sexual violence. This morning, we're still waiting to learn the identity of a man found floating in a pond at Aquinas College in Grand Rapids. An employee discovered his body yesterday afternoon near Robinson Road. Police do not believe that the man was a student or employee at the college. Captain Eric Payne says he noticed foot tracks on one side of the pond and broken ice near the edge of the water, but he does not suspect foul play. His cause of death has not yet been released.
That's a News Channel 3 exclusive. A young Kalamazoo County woman shares the story of a brutal beating she's determined to overcome.
The frontal lobe was where my brain bleeding was. I was hit to the back of the head, and so the area where it was swollen and the brain injury was that's how it affected the nerves of that area.
It's been months since Anna Brundage jogged to her grandparents' home in Schoolcraft and interrupted Craig Frost burglarizing the home. He says he had every intention of taking off, but instead he grabbed a crowbar and beat Brundage unconscious. Tuesday, a judge sentenced Frost to at least 26 years in prison. He apologized to Anna and her family, but they say it can undo the damage that's already been done.
I mean, I have a 3-year-old daughter myself, so just imagine if any of this would ever happen to my daughter.
he made the choice to do what he did. He had an opportunity to leave, and he didn't take it.
Something we'll never forget. Lying on that floor in excruciating pain, wondering what happened to her.
Brundage has had to endure extensive treatments for her injuries. She has not yet regained her sense of taste and smell, but she is going back to college next week, and she's determined to use her experience to help other victims of violence.
Developing news this morning, a Michigan Assistant Attorney General has been suspended. James Schell was arrested last week in Eaton County in charge of possessing a firearm while under the influence of alcohol and reckless use of a firearm. Those are both misdemeanors. Schell is also president of the Grand Ledge Board of Education. Schell has been suspended while the case proceeds. Governor Rick Snyder comments on an issue likely to be a hot topic in many states this year. He says it's too early to tell if Michigan will push to require drug tests for welfare recipients and applicants. Some Republicans support the idea of requiring a clean drug test to be eligible for cash assistance. New legislation to require drug testing was introduced in the State House last month.
In Van Buren County, federal regulators plan on doing extra inspections at the Palisades nuclear power plant. Now, that's because the new U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission says the plant has been downgraded. The lower ranking means more inspections will be necessary. The commission says faulty maintenance by plant employees last May caused a water pump to shut down. The agency is also investigating 2 other incidents at the plant in 2011, including a maintenance-related electrical failure. Coming up, the government is considering lowering the acceptable levels for lead poisoning in kids.
We're really starting to recognize that prevention needs to happen in these cases.
After the break, more on what it could mean for families right here in West Michigan.